Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Mummy Club podcast and webinar. Those of you who are watching live today, either on the webinar or live streaming through Facebook. My name's Parker-Naples and I am a success coach and founder of the award-winning Inspiring Mummy Club. And everything we do is all about helping mums to feel better about themselves, lead a much more fulfilling life and sort out sort of all the niggles that happen. Being a mum isn't the easiest thing in the world, but I positively believe that the more things we do that make us tick and make us feel happy, the better it is for everybody else. And that it's important to put yourself first, because if you don't look after yourself as mum, then everything else can go down the toilet. So today I am very glad to interview today Natasha Fletcher, who is a cognitive therapist and personal development coach. And Natasha is a freelance therapist for the UK's leading Insomnia Clinic. And today we are talking all about sleep matters. So Natasha, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hello, thank you for that fantastic introduction, Anna, and thank you for inviting me to join this webinar this evening. I'm really excited to be talking about sleep.
Yes, it's a big deal, particularly for mums, right? You don't get enough sleep, everything can fall apart.
Absolutely. I think as a parent, sleep is one of our, we get obsessed with it, don't we? We just get obsessed with sleep. Definitely. If we're not getting it, we think about it all the time. I think we are.
And I think what's amazing is when you're getting enough sleep, you can't imagine that sleep could be an issue because you just feel normal and alive and balanced and everything's okay with the world again. So, Natasha, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and a little bit about your family setup.
Okay, so obviously I'm Natasha Fletcher. I am, I guess first and foremost, I am mummy to a 20-month-old son, Dylan. Dylan's in bed right now, hopefully sleeping soundly, and fingers crossed he's going to stay that way for the duration of the webinar. Doesn't always happen, but hopefully we'll be lucky tonight. So that keeps me busy, having a nearly 2-year-old. But on top of that also, I'm the founder of Live With Clarity, which is a therapy and coaching service. And we help people really who are experiencing anxieties, doubts, worries, that type of thing. And quite often, along with those things, so stress, anxiety, worry, come sleep problems. So I do see an awful lot of people with sleep problems through that avenue. As you also said, I do work with the Insomnia Clinic, which is a clinic that offers help to people who, for whatever reason, have found themselves in a negative cycle, a vicious circle of not being able to sleep, or just not getting a refreshing night's sleep.
So tell me about the kind of people who end up coming to see you to deal with sleep issues. Who walks through the door?
Gosh, there's so many different types of people that come to see me for sleep. I mean, sleep issues. So at any one time, so right now, tonight, 25% of the UK's population will be struggling with a sleep problem. And
that's an amazing statistic. That's huge.
A quarter of us at any one time. So just tonight, and throughout our lifetime, statistically, we'll have a 50% chance of suffering some sort of significant sleep problem. So anyone can come through the door. I think it's fair to say age, gender, anything isn't really, it could be anyone that comes through the door. The majority of people that we see have found themselves almost like stuck in a cycle of having a battle with bedtime. So bedtime, going to bed isn't relaxing, isn't soothing for them anymore. It's become almost a battleground. Worrying about sleep, stressing about sleep, trying to sleep but not sleeping. So they're the majority of people that we see that have got themselves almost in a vicious cycle. I guess.
And at what point do they decide to come to you? At that point, are they feeling pretty desperate, or is it quite early on for them?
I would say most people put up with bad sleep for a long time. I think we almost think that for a while that's normal. We'll try and get over it. We'll work through it. Maybe some people then go to see the GP, maybe start taking sleeping tablets, something like that. So actually we do find that people come to us when they've been having difficulty sleeping for quite some time, really. That's the majority of people that we see. We'd like to see people sooner and say to people, do you know what? Before you even get into those really bad habits, come and see someone or get some information about sleep. But I do think one of the really big difficulties is there's so much information about sleep out there. is really, really hard to sort out what's relevant to you, what's important, what's good advice, what's not good advice. So lots of people are taking advice from lots and lots of different areas, lots and lots of different people, but it's not necessarily the best advice or great or working for them.
Natasha, we had a bit of a problem there with some of the recording, unfortunately. So I'm just going to take a moment for those of you who missed the beginning of this interview, just to say that we are talking with Natasha Fletcher, who is a cognitive therapist who works with the UK's Insomnia Clinic and also is a personal development coach. And I think that's the only bit we missed. I just wanted to make sure we're there telling you who she is and why we're talking tonight about sleep matters, because as you all know, if you don't get enough sleep and you don't feel on top of your game, then lots of things can fall apart very quickly. So hopefully then that's the only segue you need into where we were with this interview. So as mum yourself, tell me about how having your 20-month-old, how he has affected your own personal sleep. What's going on in your world in terms of sleep, even though you know all the techniques and the tools? What really happens at home?
Gosh, it's so difficult, isn't it, I guess, because all the good sleep habits in the world can't stop you necessarily being woken up by a crying baby at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I guess just a little bit about my experience with sleep. So I've been working in the NHS and working with people and then in therapy for probably about 15 years now. And sleep has been a really big issue for a lot of people, especially when they're suffering anxiety or low mood or something like that. So I've been working with people and sleep keeps cropping up as an issue and keeps coming up as an issue. Then about in 2010, I think it was probably when I went into therapy, I was seeing a lot of people coming to me with sleep problems. I was thinking, gosh, this is a really big problem actually. But then, this is probably about 8 or so years ago. There wasn't a lot out there for people. There wasn't a great deal. There was just the medications, sleeping tablets, things like that people were being offered. Then I had Dylan, and obviously sleep. Well, I didn't have any, I think.
Tested to the limits, I think it's called, motherhood, when you have one that doesn't sleep and then someone around you says, well, mine sleeps through the night and has done since week 2, and you think you want to throttle them because how are you coping? So your own sleep now.
So I was getting obsessed with sleep then, I guess. I was trying to follow every kind of routine that we could, getting a little bit obsessed with sleep, because ironically, I think when you don't sleep, that's when you get obsessed with sleep. You start thinking about sleep all the time. So when Dylan did eventually actually start, we had the holy grail of sleeping through. I found that actually it was me that couldn't sleep in the end. And I guess the reason for that, looking back now, was because I'd almost started associating bedtime with being awake or being woken up quite a lot. So my body thought, oh, when we go to bed, we sleep for a little bit and then we wake up. We sleep for a little bit and then we wake up. So he was sleeping through, but I wasn't sleeping very well. And I just couldn't figure it out, really. I was thinking, what's this about? Why is it that I can't sleep now? And looking back, that's what it was. I think I'd grown accustomed to nighttime being about being awake. And I think that's a common problem for a lot of people. So
I think insomnia isn't always the I can't get off to sleep, and it isn't always waking in the small hours of the morning. There's all sorts of sleep disorders in between. I know for myself that in the past, a big stress indicator for me was when I was sleepwalking, and I wouldn't even necessarily know that I'd done it. I wouldn't leave the top floor of our home, but I'd do silly things like put my clothes on or whatever. And that for me, even if I wasn't aware there were major stresses in my life because I was putting a brave smile on things, if I started doing that at night, it meant there were actually some unaddressed issues that needed looking at pronto. But if you don't know that and you don't know how to get help or what you can do, then you can feel very stuck. And the more tired you get, the harder it is to ask for help, I think.
I think so. And, it is one of those things. A lot of people don't actually associate their difficult sleep with stress or worries and things that are going on in their life. And as you say, quite a lot of people let things go and let the stress build up and the sleep gets worse. And then you feel worse. You feel like you can't ask for help. And again, you get stuck in another vicious cycle. Definitely.
So when someone comes to see you and they're having a really bad time with sleep, where do you start with them? What do you advise them?
So I guess the first session that we have with people is always just about getting a bit of a history, finding out what's going on, because we always say to people what's really, really important is that you just rule out any physical issues that are going on, because there's a lot of physical problems that can cause poor sleep. So always just get checked out. make sure there's nothing physical going on there for you. Then we look at what we call sleep hygiene things. So we just find out
the audio just went on that. That was sleep hygiene that Natasha.
Hygiene items, yeah. So we look at how much caffeine are people drinking in the evening. And I think everyone knows about coffee now. They're not drinking tea and coffee, but a really big thing we're seeing is people drinking a lot of Coke throughout the day, sugary drinks, things like that. So we just get an idea about what people are drinking, or if they've started taking a little bit of alcohol at night for a nightcap. So we know that alcohol can help you get off to sleep, but actually it causes quite disrupted sleep. So if people are drinking a lot of caffeine and alcohol, we can start on cutting that back. We look at the physical environment of their bedroom. So have you got a comfortable mattress? Have you got comfortable pillows? Have you got maybe some blackout blinds? Are you keeping the noise to a minimum? And one of the things that we can do sometimes with people is we say, so if you're really serious about treatment and we're going to change your sleep, why not change your bedroom around? Give it a lick of paint, change your furniture. Just flip that mindset that is the old bedroom where I didn't sleep, and this is the new one where I do sleep. And almost that can be the difference that makes the difference.
I've heard about that before, where even if you don't change the room around, you just decide that room is now just for sleep. So even going as far as to dressing elsewhere in the house, and making sure if you're going to read a book, you read downstairs, or you read in another part of the house, or you journal if that's something you do late at night. You do it somewhere else, so that when you get in bed, the activity you are doing is going to sleep. Yeah, absolutely.
What we do is everything that we do is about building the association between bed and sleep. So cutting out doing, as you rightly say, cutting out doing anything other than either sleep or intimacy in bed. So a lot of people come to us and they are trying to help. They're doing things like reading or meditations, hypnotherapy downloads, which is absolutely fantastic. But things like reading, we always say, maybe if you can do that downstairs, like you say, in another room, because we just want to build up that association between bed and sleep. So after we've kind of worked on that a little bit with people, we try and get them into a wind down routine before bed. So maybe 20, 30 minutes before bed, doing something that they find relaxing, but gives their body the indication that, oh, it's time to start winding down now, it's time to switch off. And your body will sort of recognise instinctually that it's time to get ready for sleep if you repeat that most days.
So give me an example. What would that be?
So for me personally, I tend to drink a cup of herbal tea, maybe a little bit of chamomile tea, something like that. People sometimes might like to just light a candle, have a little bit of quiet time, turn the lights down. We even say to people, if you just want to watch a little bit of telly, something like that, to zone out, but turn the lights down, keep it low, nothing too action-packed. Anything that you do consistently before bed, your body will start to associate with going to bed. So a lot of us as parents, we know for babies, bath, bottle, bed. We do that before bedtime, but we don't think about it with ourselves. But having a really clear routine for your body to associate with bedtime is really, really important.
So habit formation for the brain is fascinating, isn't it? I was listening to a podcast about this the other day, saying, every day you put your trousers on, do you put your left or your right leg in first? And you probably don't know, but it will be exactly the same thing every time, because it's become an automatic behavior. Every time you see the trousers on the floor, you pick them up exactly the same way, and they go on left foot, then right foot, or right foot, then left foot, because your brain doesn't want to have to be thinking about everything. So the more you do something and you create a positive habit deliberately, if you can do that day in, day out, all the times you're having great sleep, or whether you're having bad sleep, it doesn't matter. You keep that behavior in there just before you go to bed.
Absolutely, definitely. I'm trying to think which leg I put in.
Yeah, you will. Everyone's going to be wondering now.
I think it's the right. So yeah, we really, really encourage people to work on that. And I think everyone knows, like, a wind down activity is a really good thing. But actually, a lot of people aren't putting it into practice. And as you say, consistency as well. So even if you're sleeping well, or you're not sleeping too well, but just keeping it consistent, really, really important. We look at stress management with people. We might get into that a little bit more, but stress is probably the number one cause of not sleeping. Really, really is. Or people that have a lot going on, a lot that they're doing in the day. Actually, high IQ is associated with insomnia. So for anyone out there who isn't sleeping, you are in good company.
Which is very, very intelligent. That's all.
That's it. But yeah, people have got a lot going on, people who are doing a lot, or people that have got a lot of stress. Really, that can be a big effector for sleep. So we work with people sometimes on stress management. And again, one of those wind down techniques that one of those wind down times that people are doing, we sometimes encourage journaling in that time as well, maybe diary writing, because if you've got a lot on your mind and you haven't got time to process it during the day, of course, it makes absolute sense that when you're in bed and you've got a bit of time, your brain's going to think, oh, right, I can go through this now. We've got some time to think about this. So that's why sometimes you could be lying in bed thinking of things, going over things. But if you give yourself time in the day to process that, maybe through journaling or just talking to someone, you can really kind of reduce those worries that are impacting on your sleep at night.
See, one of the things that I've done in the past when I'll go through long periods of great sleep and then all of a sudden I'm not sleeping and I've got lots of thoughts buzzing around my head. What I do for myself now is, although I'll journal downstairs, when I go to sleep, I actually have a pencil and paper near me, so that if anything pops in, I'll just quickly get it out, because once it's out there, I'm not having to think about it. It's done. So I'm not having those endless hours of procrastinating and worrying and thinking it over and over and over in a loop. It's done. But that, of course, is not ideal, that you're waking up in the first place. What we want for you is to be able to just sleep all the way through. So talk to us about the stress management then. Talk to us about what it is you do with people when they come to see you. We talked a little bit about you being a cognitive therapist, so maybe elaborate a little bit about that.
Okay, so if I just tell you a little bit about what CBT is really. So cognitive behaviour therapy is a type of therapy that looks at the way we think and the things that we do. So the cognitive bit is about the things that we think, and the behavioural bit is about the things that we do. And it works on the idea that if we change the way that we think about a situation, we might be able to change the way that we respond to it, and also the way that we feel about it. And also that if we change the things that we do in a situation, we might change the way we think about it and also the way we feel. So all of these things are having an impact upon each other all the time. And if we maybe can just change one in a little way, we can impact on the whole. So what CBT for insomnia does is just help you identify those thoughts that you're having and behaviours that are maintaining that poor sleep. And we do exactly the same for stress management. So we think a little bit about, well, what kind of thoughts are people having? What are going through their minds? What are they thinking? How are they reacting? And we look at those thoughts and start to just pick them apart a little bit and work with them. We also do some really, really practical stuff with people, kind of just everyday tools and techniques that they can do. So problem solving, managing problems, meditation, apps, things like that. In my private practice, I might do a little bit of hypnotherapy with people, work on that. But there's so many different kind of arms to stress management, really. But a big one that people do find helpful nowadays is meditation. I think it's been really, really popular for people.
Yeah, and I think what I love is that it's becoming more and more widestream, if that's the right word, with more and more people doing it and embracing it as a way to manage their stress, and it becoming not a tool to fix things, but as a long-term part of people's everyday life, which is really exciting. In fact, it's one of the core things that we have at Inspiring Mummy Club as part of our package. Just going back a little bit to hypnosis, that's something I work on with clients quite a lot. Often when all sorts of things are going on in your world, whatever they are, actually it's the sleep that is majorly affected, and that might be not be the first thing that they present when they come to talk, but often it will come out that that's a real thing, and then they worry that they're not going to sleep. And my own personal experience of hypnosis was the thing that kind of brought me to the whole world of self-development anyway. I was saying to Natasha earlier that I was going through a period of lots of stress, and at the time I had just my first child, and I was getting out of bed and I was sleepwalking, and I would find myself going into the baby's room, thinking she was in her cot, but really she was sleeping in our room at the time. And at the time I used to see a lot of spiders. For whatever reason, spiders were a big thing that were affecting my psyche while I was sleep, because I had stress in my day that I was putting a brave face on. And I wouldn't have known that that's why I was having sleep problems. But this particular night, I thought my husband had a spider on his face. I went to knock it off very gently, as I thought. And what I actually did was hit him very hard in the face while he was asleep, which, of course, my darling husband decided it was high time that I sorted out my sleep. And at that point, I didn't have a clue where to go. I didn't know anything about hypnosis or how your thoughts work. Now I work as an NLP practitioner and a master hypnotherapist as well. I don't know so much about CBT, but I have an understanding that they work in a similar yet different way. And I didn't know that this could help, but it did. And that one hypnosis session, followed by listening to a track over and over again for myself at home, completely transformed it. I have never again had issues with certainly seeing spiders. I've never felt the need to punch my husband in the face while he slept. Maybe that's a different issue. Although in real times of stress I might get out of bed, I'll wake myself in the action. So I've never been as sort of engaged in it. And so I really know that the hypnosis stuff can make a very quick difference to your sleep. And I know that when I find myself waking in my sleep, that I really then have to look at what I'm doing in my everyday life. I have to go back to doing more meditation, particularly body scans. Actually, they really work for me in that pre-bedtime run up, if you like. I'll often do a lot of my meditation in the morning, but I find a body scan meditation, just because you're focusing on different parts, be really aware of the tension you're carrying and having that ability to just release it a little bit, just because you're giving it your focus and attention. That for me is a really great way to kind of go off into sleep. And journaling as well. I mean, again, getting my thoughts down on paper hugely helps me. Just like us to just talk a little bit about blue lights in the bedroom.
Okay.
A little bit about digital detoxing when we went live today. So just talk a little bit about what that is.
Okay, so one of the really big things that are affecting sleep at the minute is blue light from digital devices. So blue light is emitted from your phones and from tablets, computers. And what blue light does, it actually stops or slows down the production of melatonin. And melatonin is a really important hormone for us going to sleep. So just before we go to sleep, we start to produce the hormone melatonin, which helps us drop off. And probably around 4 o'clock in the morning, usually our melatonin levels start dropping off in preparation for us to wake up, which is why a lot of people find themselves with early morning waking. Sometimes if they wake up, they struggle then to get back off. But blue light actually affects the production of melatonin. And so a lot of people are using devices in bed, they're using them late into the night, and they're really causing problems for people's sleep. Another thing that people are doing is having tablets and phones next to their bedside. So when they do wake up, instead of dropping back off, they are checking Facebook or checking their emails. I had a gentleman that came to see me. He only came to see me for 2 sessions, actually, because it was so simple. What he was doing was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going to the toilet, taking his phone, checking emails and replying to work emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, coming back to bed at about 4 o'clock, and then finding that he couldn't sleep.
Your brain's stimulated, isn't it? You're then awake.
Absolutely. So he's giving himself a double dose. He's giving himself blue light, and he's also checking, almost waking himself up, stimulating himself, like you say. We laughed about it in the end. He said he couldn't believe that he had to pay money when he could have got that advice from his friends down the pub. But sometimes he said, you just need someone to tell you and someone to hold you accountable for making those changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we always say to people, if you can, cut it out at least an hour before bed. Really make an effort to do that. You can get some filters on your phones and tablets these days, which maybe can reduce the blue light a little bit. Ideally, give them up if you can. If you're really struggling, maybe consider one of those filters. A lot of people like to read books, don't they? We always say, try and get like a proper Kindle or maybe even an old-fashioned book, really, instead of the tablet. And also, keep them out of the bedroom. Get yourself an old-fashioned alarm clock, or if you have to have your phone in your bedroom, don't check it when you wake up.
So place it away from you. Place it at the other end of the bedroom.
Really good idea. Yeah.
Okay, great. So blackout blinds as well. Light in the bedroom obviously can massively affect people. So making sure that it's not just baby's room or your child's bedroom, that is dark, that yours is too. And let's talk a little bit about daytime napping. Because
Okay.
we were talking about this offline. When you've got young children, often the advice from every well-meaning person around you is nap when the baby naps. And
Yes.
fine in those first few weeks, but as time goes on, if you're doing that, what happens is that you are then not able to sleep at night, because although you feel tired, your brain isn't ready to switch off. So
Absolutely.
just talk us through what's going on for people there.
Okay, so the things that you need to sleep, there's two things that you need to sleep. One is for your body clock to be in sync. So you might have heard of the term like night owl or morning lark. So some people are just predisposed to going to sleep, wanting to go to sleep a little bit later, or wanting to go to sleep a little bit earlier. So you need a body clock to be in sync. But the second thing that you need to sleep is a drive to sleep. So essentially that just means you need to be tired enough to sleep. And that tiredness builds up from the moment you wake up, and almost, if you imagine an elastic band, it stretches round as the day goes round, and you need enough stretch in that elastic band to be able to sleep. And if you're having a nap in the middle, that can reduce that drive to sleep. The only exception really is for quite elderly people. Quite often they do well with a nap in the day, but for most of us, it can be really damaging to our nighttime sleep.
So I've heard that if you meditate during the day, actually it can be better for you than trying to have a nap. Do you know?
Absolutely.
About that? Yeah.
I would definitely say so. Napping is always a bad thing. We always say for people, if you can get away without napping, please don't. I think for most of us as parents, we'll all be aware of that. When your child's just had that 5 minutes in the car and then bedtime, it's gone, hasn't it? You've lost 2 or 3 hours of sleep at bedtime. And it is the same for us. So if you are feeling really, really tired, or you're struggling, or you're getting that 3 o'clock slump that quite a lot of people get, as you rightly say, try doing something else. Quite a lot of people we advise to either go for a walk, a nice relaxing walk, do a meditation, get a bit of a rest maybe if you want to. But if you can avoid sleeping, avoid sleeping.
And exercise, just wanted to mention the effect of exercise on your sleep. So you wouldn't necessarily want to be doing something hardcore just before bed, but actually increasing the amount you exercise is going to be good for your body all round, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. A gentleman that I'm working with at the moment, it's just all about increasing that exercise, because he knows that it helps him sleep. So we'd say 2 big things in that area, really. Increase your exercise as much as you can, because that's going to increase that drive to sleep. You're going to be more tired. It's also a massive stress reducer as well. So reduce your stress, be more tired. It's great for your sleep. And also, if you can, and the summer months are brilliant for this, but just increase your exposure to daylight. So that's all about getting your body clock in sync again. So get out, combine them together, get out there, go for a walk, go for a bit of a jog, something outside if you can. That's going to be, if you're struggling with sleep issues, that's going to be something that's really going to help.
And how close to going to bed should you not be exercising, if that makes any sense? Like you wouldn't, I would imagine that you don't want it just before you're getting into bed.
Absolutely.
Is there a recommended gap between finishing exercising and then starting your bedtime routine?
I don't think there's a formally recommended gap. We would just advise to people that maybe at least 2 or so hours before you go to bed, give them endorphins chance to kind of get out of your system. And obviously we're making time for that relax, like that winding down time as well.
Yeah, I think that having that time to unwind is really, really crucial. And like you talked about before, having something that then becomes habitual that you do. So one of the things that I'd really recommend is I use a lot of lavender oil. Inspiring Mummy Club recently partnered with doTERRA, and I've been finding that if I have that on in my bedroom, or I place some on the bottoms of my feet before I go to bed, knowing that it's really pure, that actually that can just allow my body to just soften and relax a little bit more. Also, massage is a really good thing. If you know you're really struggling with tension in your body, and you've got someone there who can give you a massage, or even just rubbing your own shoulders with something that's going to just help everything soften, then that might just be, again, one of those things you can put in place to really help you to form good habits and allow your body to unwind a little bit more.
Yeah, build it into that routine, definitely. I have a scent that I associate with sleep as well, that I spray in the air, or just give yourself a bit of do your feet a bit of a moisturiser or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just creating that routine. Well, it's all been fascinating, Natasha. What I would like to ask you just really is one final question is, if you had somebody who was at home feeling stuck, maybe they're having sleep issues, maybe it's something else in their life that's not quite right for them, what would you advise them to do? What would be your
first thing really was sometimes your sleep can give you indications that maybe you're experiencing some stress or something else is going on for you. So pay attention to that, get a little bit of an idea about if there's something else going on. The big thing I would say is try and get a regular wind down time. Try and get a regular get up and go to bed time, and don't spend too much time in bed. So one of the things that we see a lot is people, ironically, insomniacs spend an awful lot of time in bed. They don't sleep very much, but they spend an awful lot of time in bed. So try not to spend too much time in bed, because it's all about, you'd start to associate being in bed with being awake, and that doesn't help. So try and cut that down. So no caffeine, reduce the alcohol, don't nap, all the things we've said really. Keep your bedroom comfortable. And if you're really, really struggling, seek help, because, it is so, so important to be sleeping well. When we're sleeping well, we perform at our best. So seek help. Yeah,
there's so many people that can help you deal with it. People who deal with CBT, there's Insomnia Clinics, there's NLP practitioners, master hypnotherapists, all sorts. So, and it's something that Natasha and I both deal with as well. So that is it. Thank you so much for coming on today, Natasha. It's been really fabulous talking through why sleep matters, having a great routine and forming habits that can just really help you to back up everything else that you're doing that's good in your life, in your personal development, because if you are sleeping, then everything else can fall into place a little bit easier. So if you are out there listening to our live broadcast or to our podcast later on, then I hope that something in what we've talked about today will resonate with you, and you are able to put something into place for yourself and your own sleep hygiene. That's the word that Natasha's used today, sleep hygiene. That's it from me. Listen out for our next podcasts. If, as I mentioned today, we are now partnered with doTERRA. So if you are interested in getting hold of some of the pure lavender oil that I've just talked about today, or a wonderful steam diffuser, then there will be a link attached to our website, but also to this webinar wherever you are getting hold of it. That's it from me. Take care, and I will speak to you soon.